Throughout the past century and a half, Reading has been home to many lesbian, gay, bisexual and trans icons that have had a huge impact on the cultural and political landscape of Britain as a whole.
The autumn of 1874, and we find the young gentleman, poet and renowned gay icon Arthur Rimbaud, working as a French tutor in Newtown. It was here that Rimbaud wrote much of Les Illuminations, now considered to be one of his greatest works. Rimbaud's open stance on homosexuality only 42 years after the last execution for sodomy shocked society. Following the end of a romance with fellow poet Paul Verlaine, Rimbaud gave up the pen and began his travels across Europe and Africa.
21 years later, in 1895, and Dublin-born Oscar Wilde is prosecuted for homosexual offences and imprisoned at Reading Jail. It was here that Wilde would write De Profundis. Upon his release, he fled to gay Paris, where he wrote the Ballad of Reading Jail, acting as a chilling reminder of the unjust treatment inflicted upon homosexuals of the time. Wilde passed away in the year 1900. He was destitute at the time and is quoted saying, "I can't even afford to die."
6 years later, a young Wilfred Owen moves to Dunstan, just outside Reading. It was here that many of his early poems were written. Working as an assistant to the local vicar, he became disillusioned with the church due to its lack of care for the poor and needy. During this time, he would travel to Reading University where he studied botany, finally moving to central Reading in 1913. 2 years later, Wilfred signed up to the Artists' Rifles, where he was commissioned into the Manchester Regiment. Here his poetry acted as a voice for the men in his care. Owen would become the voice for a generation of lost men, both gay and straight. He would never see this come to pass though, as he died in action on the 4th of November 1918.
The next major contribution came in 1957, with the publishing of The Report of the Departmental Committee on Homosexual Offences and Prostitution, and yes, it is a mouthful. Commonly known as the Wolfenden Report after the committee's chairman and vice-chancellor of Reading University, Lord John Wolfenden, the report called for the decriminalisation of homosexual acts between people aged 21 and over.
This brazen report ignited a socio-political debate and lasted for the next 10 years, eventually resulting in the 1967 Sexual Offences Act that decriminalised homosexuality. This victory on British soil was followed 2 years later by the emerging LGBT+ rights movement and Stonewall riots, carried out by trans and gay activists in America.
15 years on, in 1982, Reading opened its first gay venue, the Winford Arms. 3 years after that, the Reading Area AIDS Support Group is set up to tackle the spread of HIV.
Then, in 1993, Thames Valley Positive Support is established, followed 4 years later by the Thames Valley Gay Police Association.
The new millennium saw the unveiling of the Oscar Wilde Memorial Walk.
And by 2003, Reading hosted its first Pride event. In 2011, to cater to the growing needs for an LGBT+ support service in Reading, Andrew Stonehill Brooks and Lorna McArdle founded the Support You frontline service.
From a 2-room office with no one but themselves, Support You now has a team of over 30 volunteers. And, as they say, the rest is history.